Time now to get the latest trends in dive retailing, travel, and training with Level Up, the podcast of Scuba Diving Industry Magazine. Now, here's your host, Scuba Radio's Greg the Divemaster.
That is me. I'm pretty excited because we are literally just a week away from the big DEMA Show, the Super Bowl of dive industry events happening here in my hometown of Orlando, Florida next week. But right now, we're not even doing Scuba Radio. We're doing the Level Up podcast and giving everybody a glimpse into the industry with my good buddy, Willie Cline.
Hey,
Willie,
hello.
how you doing, buddy? You guys got
Well,
your booth for Scuba Diving Industry Magazine all set for DEMA? You in Britain?
We sure do. We got a very large cardboard box this year. We figured that,
Right.
Yes, we're all set up, and Brent's going to talk a little about that here in just a minute. But yeah, we're looking forward to the show and looking forward to seeing everybody. And come by and see us. We're at 9:35, and definitely come to Greg's morning warm up every morning. You got some cool stuff planned, right, Greg?
Oh, we do. Every day the show opens at 10 a.m., and I've been doing this for God knows how many years now, where they've actually let me go set up and warm up the crowd as they
Right.
enter the show. And I try to send them in with a smile on their face, not with my presence, but literally with other presents. And I mean like presents in the sense of like dive trips to give away gear, thousands of dollars of stuff we give away each year. And the only thing that blows for me personally is I don't get any of it. It all goes to the attendees with the goal of sending everybody in with a smile on their face. However, this year is going to be special, Willie, because I got 3 new games. I figure if I can't win the prizes, I might as well amuse myself by making people do silly games.
That's great.
We have a Granny Panties game. I'm just going to leave it out there.
Okay.
We have life-size ring toss. Well, we got these big inflatable like floats, right? They
That's
use in a
a great
pool,
idea.
and you throw them off the stage, try to ring a diver, and if you do, you win, that kind of thing. And then this other one called Scuba Radio, Shake Your Booty Balls. And I think I better just leave that one alone as well. But trust
That's
me,
great.
these are going to be visually
That's
entertaining for me at the bare minimum. But
That's great.
the people that participate show up a little bit before 10 a.m., usually, by 9:30 or so. Trust me, it'll be worth showing up to the DEMA show next week in Orlando just a tad early before the event opens each morning, because we have just tons of stuff to give away, and I'm pretty excited. It's a blast every year, but this year
That's
is even
great.
going to be more fun. So, you want a shot at that probably yourself, don't you, Willie?
Well, I think I'm kind of ineligible.
Why?
But speaking of giveaways,
I'll tell you what, if you want to try on the granny panties as a demonstration for all the people,
I see.
I just want to make that available to you right now.
That's something I might try. You never know. You never
you
know.
you put them on, and then you got to catch stuff in your
I see.
drawers. It's a whole thing. I don't know.
That sounds really fun.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, speaking of giveaways, we actually are doing our own giveaway and in our booth, and Britain's going to talk a little bit about that.
All right. What do you got, Britain?
Yeah, that's right. I got 3 just super quick things. Firstly, Dive Pros, please keep an eye out on your inbox. This week, our Klein Group Global Dive Business Survey is open, and now's your chance to really shape the future of the dive industry. It only takes about 2 minutes to complete the full thing, and everyone who participates gets full access to the results absolutely for free. So don't miss it. Your insights really do drive the trends that we all depend on. Secondly, yes, come by and see us. If you haven't filled out our Scuba Diving Industry Magazine subscriber survey, go ahead and do that now, because everyone who completes it before the DEMA show gets entered to a drawing for a $150 pizza party gift card. And it's kind of our treat to say thank you for being a part of the dive community. And we're going to go ahead and announce that winner on Friday at 3 p.m. And you don't have to be present to win, but stay aware of that. Thirdly and finally, our Writers Roundtable. Please make plans to join us in the town hall for our writers at the DEMA Resource booth at 965. Sorry. We've got 2 sessions, Wednesday at 5 p.m. and Thursday at noon. It's a casual industry chat with some Q&A as well. And it kind of gives you a chance to hear some of the industry's most respected voices. And, so it's a nice hangout. So come by, come meet our authors, and come chat about where, the industry is headed. Guys, that's all I got.
Love
Two
it.
sessions, right, Britain?
That's right. Yeah, one on Wednesday at 5 p.m. and the other one is on Thursday at noon.
Yeah, come check it out. It's going to be great. We're going to have about 15 or so writers. And I'm very honored to say that if you look right above my finger here, you see this beautiful cover. This is our DEMA Show cover. It is the most read cover of the entire issue, or most read issue of the entire year. It's actually, this entire cover is being put on a kiosk display in the DEMA lobby, registration lobby, where you can pick up. Oh, you got your copy. I haven't got mine yet, so that's great.
Came in the mail today.
That's good. Oh, good. The East Coast got them. Good job. Okay, yeah, there you go. They're showing this is compliments of our very good friend Amos. Amos, welcome. I know you're just back from Africa and spotting the black leopards and all kinds of crazy stuff. So tell us a little bit about how you got this incredible shot.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
It's good to see you all, because I'm going to miss you at DEMA.
Oh, no.
But this is an opportunity to connect with you all and to share the moment. Some of you know that my mission was for 50 years actually taking pictures or showing that there is no need to be fear of the ocean or the animal, but to understand the animal and then to be able to create harmony with them and be with them in the ocean safely. So one of the goals, of course, is to be with a great white. Naturally, at the time, there was nobody allowed to do it anywhere else, not in Australia, and where I started in 1980 with Rodney Fox and with Ginny Clark, the late Ginny Clark, the famous one, and then not in Mexico, but in South Africa, I was able to do it with the maverick Andre Hartmann. Andre Hartmann was remarkable. He's still remarkable, unfortunately not in good health, and to be able to experience and to test diving with a great white and open water. What Andre and I decided to do, of course, we did not have any guests. We did it by ourselves. We went down out on dangerous reef and put the cage on the bottom of the channel, which is about only 18 or 20 feet deep. And Andre was on the surface feeding the shark. As the shark come in, he will give the shark will take it out of his mouth. I went into the cage, and the first 2 or 3 times, the shark came in on the surface to take the bait, but Andre did not let it take it because he wanted to come back. But what I saw underwater was fascinating, because after 2 or 3 times, the shark changed direction, and rather to come on the surface toward Andre to take the bait from the dive platform, the shark went down underwater, come along the bottom toward me in the cage, rise up in front of the cage all the way up to the surface, and take by surprise take from Andre the bait that he had in his hand. Next time what I did, I went on top of the cage, sitting on the cage, and the shark did the same thing, did not care about me for a second. He only went for the bait that was on the surface. Just like a missile, like a Tomahawk missile, the bait, lock up on a target and go for the target, don't care about anything else on the way. Next thing we did, Andre and I decided to go to another place and take a bait, put it under the rock, and he and I will stand, each one of us, on the opposite side of the cage. And we were in about 30 or 40 feet deep. And eventually, after 10 or 15 minutes, the shark showed up and went down to the reef to find out where the bait was. He could not take it out, and he started to go up. Andre went after the shark, and I went after Andre, and here is the picture.
Wow.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So thank you. Amos has been doing a series in our magazine for about the last year called From Behind the Lens. And he does these beautiful, beautiful profiles of how he gets these incredible shots. So take a look at his series. This month's, of course, feature is on how he got this shot exactly, and he speaks a little bit more about it in detail in the article. So thank you, Amos, for being a great supporter of the magazine. There's one other special thing I'd like to announce about Amos, and this is the first place you're going to hear this on the planet. It just so happens that Amos is being inducted this September in the 2026 class for the International Scuba Diving Hall of Fame in Grand Cayman. Congratulations.
How about that?
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. It was a pleasure being with all of you, not just today, but for the past 50 years. Some of you I shook hand, some of you I don't know, but I hope to know you again or to see you next DEMA in 2026. All the best. I'm on the way back to Ethiopia and photographing the rare and the only 500 Ethiopian wolf and the monkeys up in Bell Country.
Wow.
All the best. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Amos, for being with us.
Yes.
Amos. Mazel tov.
That's amazing. Amazing.
Mr. Big Animals himself, Amos Nachoum. Nachoum?
There he is.
Either way.
Thank you, guys.
Yes,
Thank
good to
you.
see you, Amos. Good
So,
stuff. Yeah, by the
we
way,
go-
is the name of that article Don't Be the Bait? Or I don't
Yeah,
know.
it should be, yeah, something like that. So now we go all the way from California across the ocean, and I mean across the ocean to Australia.
We're
Greg?
going down under with Deborah from diveplanet.com. Yeah, page 44 in Scuba Diving Industry Magazine. She has the article, Southern Great Barrier Reef, a group dive guide. So what does a dive shopper seller need to know about wanting to go to the Southern Great Barrier Reef there? Deborah, what can you tell us? What do you
I suppose we wanted to put a spotlight on this part of the reef. Most people around the world think of the Great Barrier Reef as being accessed mainly from cairns, and that is where, you know, the two regular liverboards operate from. But the Southern Great Barrier Reef is a very different experience. It's largely like an island resort experience, very different to the north, where, you know, the better reefs are only accessed by liverboard. In the south, you've got a string of islands. The three main ones for diving being Lady Elliot Island, which is at the southernmost tip, Heron Island, and Great Keppel Island. So these are they're all quite different. And what I wanted to do was show dive clubs the best way to explore this part of the reef. It's not tropical, it's subtropical. So while you still have warm water, you have summer and winter there as well, and very different seasons. In summer, there's thousands and thousands of turtles nesting on these islands, and in the winter, you get mantas and humpback whales. So very different experience each time of the year. And I tried to put together a guide to show groups how to plan an itinerary, basically, in this part of the world. Very easy to access through Brisbane. And it's also really easy to combine with one of your other South Pacific diving destinations, like Fiji, for example, because Brisbane is an international hub for all of those Pacific islands. So if you want to visit the Great Barrier Reef and Fiji, or the Great Barrier Reef and Vanuatu, or the Solomon Islands, it's really easy to combine the two. We'll be presenting about this at DEMA as well.
Yeah, that's with, is that with Fiji Airways service or several carriers?
There are several. Fiji Airways run a fantastic service that goes not only to Brisbane, but directly to Cairns. So really useful if you want to combine those two destinations.
Right.
Fiji also goes to the Solomon Islands. So there's that connectivity through Nandi as well. And the other airline that does a lot of that Pacific connectivity is Solomon Airlines. So Solomon Airlines now go to, well, from Brisbane to the Solomons, of course,
Right.
but they go direct to the Western Province once a week. So you can go direct to the Western Province to visit places like Yupi or Munda or Gizo. And they also now go to Espiritu Santo in Vanuatu, which I'm not sure if you're aware, that's where one of the world's largest and most accessible wrecks is, the SS President Coolidge. Have any of you guys dived the Coolidge?
Nope.
Never, no, I'd
It's
love
on the
to.
list.
Yep.
Yes. Something else to
Yeah,
add to the
it's a-
list, maybe, for
You
sure.
better hurry before they sink the United States.
Yes, well, that's true. Right. But still, for that
I
part
wasn't
of the
speaking metaphorically. I was speaking about the wreck, actually.
world.
It will then replace it and be the largest underwater wreck. But go ahead.
Yeah.
And yeah, actually, we have partnered with Fiji Airways to put together a pretty fantastic prize to promote the Southern Great Barrier Reef. It's an island hopping road trip where you spend 3 nights on each of those islands. And that's with flights from the States directly into Brisbane. with Fiji Airways. So for 2 people, we'll be drawing that during DEMA. I think you do need to be at our stand for that draw.
And the
Yes.
stand is 639, booth 639 on the show. And on page 47 of this issue, you have to check out her sample 10-day club itinerary. It's fantastic. I mean, this is probably one of the most well-written type of destination for a dive shop guide I've ever seen, and that you actually give a suggested itinerary, because it's a complex part of the world that we don't really know a lot about. So at least us Westerners over here. So thank you for Deborah for writing that great article, and come by her booth 639. And you've got some seminars you're doing as well, correct?
Yeah, we've got one every day. We're actually brought over a couple of Master Reef Guides. So the Master Reef Guide program, you may not be aware, is in its 5th year. It's managed by the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority. So what they wanted to do was create these super guides. So these are resident marine biologists, or they're dive guides or instructors that, you know, are picked because of their passion for the reef, and they undergo quite intensive training so that they become master storytellers. So they have a incredible knowledge of the reef, of its biology, and also even its indigenous history, and the meaning it has with the local indigenous people that live here. So we're bringing across 2 Master Reef Guides, one from Great Keppel Island and one from Heron Island, and they'll be helping us present a reef health update.
Thank you again for being with us, Deborah, and it's wonderful to catch up with you, and we can't wait to see you next week at DEMA.
Yeah, I'm gonna get
See you
details.
next week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going down under in April next year, so I gotta connect with Deborah and get my itinerary.
You gotta
set.
hook up with her. So we got to go from now Australia back across the pond to our very good friend Dr. Alex.
Yes, Dr. Alex Brylske, page 14, charting the blue and Scuba Diving Industry Magazine, the role of dive tourism in the ocean economy. So how big dive tourism, or how big is it, I guess, and you know, why does it matter, Alex? What can you tell us?
Well, diving has always had a very difficult time telling its story outside of the industry. And part of that is because we have very little data. And what data we have tends to be either inaccurate, outdated, biased, or somehow incomplete. And in fact, very little has ever really passed muster to the point where it could appear in a peer-reviewed journal. And so I thought when this journal article came out, it came out in an oddly titled journal called Cell Sustainability. And essentially, primarily 2 primary researchers from University of British Columbia and from Scripps Institute of Oceanography authored, and as it will describe, it finally put some very solid data together in terms of where the industry fits, where the diving industry fits in the context of global tourism. And it's what we kind of knew for a long time. It's significant. It's quite significant. And what I did in the article was just kind of provide a synopsis. But there are 2 reasons I think it's particularly important. One is the industry needs to understand its position and its importance in the global context, because we have potentially a lot more power than I think we understand. And so that was, I think it's important for just the industry to understand that. Secondly, and I think even more importantly, it highlights that we aren't at the table often when decisions are made by policymakers, by destination management organizations, et cetera, and we lose out in that process. We need to really be engaged, and to be engaged, we need to be able to talk accurately about how big we are, how important we are, et cetera. And so that was really, to me, the biggest lesson from the article. It's without that kind of data to support our own advocacy, we really don't have much credibility, and we're kind of lost in the conversation. And so that's really what the article's about. But I also wanted to mention that based on the article, I've actually submitted to Willie a follow-up called "Why the Scuba Industry Needs More Self-Generated Data," explaining that outside data, and there's lots of data that mentions scuba diving, But these data come from sources either sports related or from the travel industry that are kind of disconnected. And they often lose a lot of the detail and nuance that's necessary to really tell the story of the scuba industry. And so what I've done in that article, I've tried to describe the metrics we need and, just what should we collect, how it should be collected, and really advocate for a broad-based knowledge base about the industry. And Willie and I have actually had some preliminary conversations. I'm hoping that DEMA particularly will take note of this and really kind of get behind this issue that's been a problem for us for, the 50 years I've been in the industry at least. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Agreed. Hey, we're kind of a big deal. We need to make sure the world knows.
Well, yeah, and Alex also is an author of several books, but one of them specifically, Beneath the Blue Planet, deals with a lot of these issues. I recommend everybody look for that, have it on your bookshelf. It's on page 15. He also has a very interesting sidebar of how to leverage the economic impact of dive tourism for a dive shop, for a wholesaler, for resorts and liveaboards. So check it out. It's a great resource. So thank you, Alex.
Yeah, look forward to seeing you.
Oh, look, good job. There you go,
week.
Tec. Tec's got the book right there on his bookshelf.
Of course he does. He's the scuba guru. He has he has probably one of the biggest dive libraries other than Alex Brylske on the planet, I assume.
And before we transition from Alex to Tec, Alex, you're doing some seminars next week, as I recall, correct?
Yeah, actually, I'm doing, I'm now working with Scuba Diving International, helping them launch their environmental initiative. And I'm doing a presentation called Teaching Mindfully How to Build Stronger Customer Connections. I'm doing with Cheryl Patterson at Deep Blue a seminar on how to sell travel through education. And then I've been working with the publisher of my book, Reef Smart Guides, and we're going to be launching a very unique program called Ocean Explorer. That's really going to be the emphasis of our being at the show. And I'm doing an hour seminar on how that evolved, what it tries to accomplish, and how the program works. So I'll be a busy boy at DEMA this year.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, before, Greg, we jump over to Tec, I got to say, Tec, you did a really great job on your broadcast you did. It was more of a reels, but it was kind of like, here's what's going on at DEMA. We were so fascinated by it. We put it out to all of our social media. So
cool.
Thank you for doing that, Tec. It's really needed. And it's kind of hard to find one place that has all the events each night and all the parties that are going on. And you did a great job on that. So go ahead, Greg.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Tec is the man when it comes to preparing for DEMA. And that's what he wrote on page 40 of Scuba Diving Industry's magazine's latest issue, 6 success strategies for the big event. So what's the best DEMA show strategy for pros from your experience, which is probably more than most in the industry there, Tec? What do you think?
Yeah, well, thanks so much. It's hard to narrow it down to one because you can come up with like 10 of them and keep distilling down. But, for those that haven't seen the article, the 6 that I kind of posed for some thought there: become a DEMA member, which I think is just highly important for anybody in the industry to be that, whatever category of membership you would be in. It just really supports the industry. And then second, commit and register early. That's great. If you haven't done that yet, that's no problem. You can still go to the show and it's all good. Number 3 is download the DEMA Show app, which helps you with 4, which is selecting seminars, and 5, which is visiting exhibitors. But I would have to say strategy number 6, networking, comes in at my number 1. And the networking piece of this, not only is that kind of shored up, and what I was talking about before in that reel that you mentioned, Willie, like all the different ways that we can get off that show floor and just make connections with other industry peoples at socials and events and parties, and really celebrate people at these gatherings too. Everybody that's in the know in the industry is running around these parties, and just a great time to informally do that rather than, trying to run in and out of booths and, hit seminars and then talk to somebody and they got to go to another seminar. It just gets tough at times. So That's the one part of networking. And so I think the social side is absolutely huge. But there's another piece of networking, the word networking, that I really want to showcase. And that actually comes back to Joel Silverstein's article on page 24. He wrote an article that's don't just walk the floor, work it, making DEMA pay off. And he has brilliant tips in there that go beyond this. And when you start to think about it, that networking that I'm talking about is actually just people contact. It's just contact. It's meeting people and getting together and talking. He brings up that, yeah, we can email all day, but when you want to negotiate travel or when you want to negotiate equipment sales for your dive center, to have one-on-one conversations is the way to go. All the body language, everything, and you start to create relationships. So I'm a huge fan of that, and that's why I would say networking is my number one area there. Catherine Castle Garcia and I were texting today, and we were going on about the different seminars she's putting on too. And I was talking about, being at one of them and so forth. And we ended with me saying, I just cannot wait to see you next week. And that's how I feel. That's how I feel about everybody that's on this call right here, this podcast episode, as well as all the industry people that I don't see but once a year at this show. And I love it. And it's just awesome. So that to me is the number one thing, is the networking and getting together with everybody.
So agree. Yeah. It's like our diving family reunion after you do it. Yeah. And I'd say that probably only takes about 2-3 years, and you're part of the clan once you've done a DEMA show. But yeah, I look forward to seeing you, Tec, and Catherine, and probably Catherine a little bit more, just between you and me. But that's fine.
By the way, Catherine's in Galapagos right now diving, so she has an excuse for missing our.
She's going to come to the show next week and just tell us to all suck it.
Yeah, so let's go from Florida to California.
Yeah.
And Jeff wrote a great article. It's really interesting. I encourage everybody to read it. He's got a bunch of sidebars that are very, very relevant for each sector of the industry. Bill, why don't you go ahead and introduce him there?
Yeah. Well, this is a good segue. Jeff Bozanic, How Collaboration Builds Bigger Dreams, on page 32. So what do you mean by these collaborations? More of the networking kind of thing that Tec was just talking about there, or what?
Well, let's go a step further than that. People learn to dive because they want to go see the environment. They want to see fish. They want to see coral. They want to see sharks. They want to see dolphins. They want to go see stuff. And they don't learn to dive because they want to take a class or get a certification card. That's not their goal. The goal is to actually enjoy the environment. And you can dive locally in many places that people learn to dive, but to be able to get the full breadth of the dive experience, you need to travel. And it is difficult sometimes for a dive shop owner or a dive instructor to organize a travel group and be successful all by themselves. And so you're much better served to be able to, if you partner with people, to be able to offer some of these experiences. Dive travel is arguably the biggest sector of the revenue sector in the diving community, bigger than instruction, bigger than equipment sales. And if you're not taking advantage of that, you're losing a big part of your market. But it's difficult to break in and be successful right out of the starting box, because like any part of the dive industry, or any business for that matter, it takes time to ramp up or to learn that sector, that portion of the industry, to be able to be successful. So building on what Tec has to say in terms of outreach and building collaborative relationships, this specifically looks at building a relationship where you're working with other people to promote dive travel in an area that you couldn't otherwise be successful doing by yourself. So let me give a couple of examples of that. You're a dive shop owner and you have a clientele, and your clientele is mixed. Your clientele is such that some people are very well off, and some people are struggling college students that are looking to make enough money to be able to pay for an airfill, much less go on a dive trip. And so you want to be able to serve the entire range of your diving community, your diving clientele, and that's difficult to do sometimes. So allow other people to help you with that so that you can be successful. So, for example, I'm running a diving expedition to Antarctica in February of 2026. It's a high ticket item, but it's a bucket list item for a lot of people. They want to go see the penguins. They want to be able to say they've been on all 7 continents. They want to be able to say they've been scuba diving in Antarctica. And you don't have enough people to put a trip together like that with just your clients. Doesn't mean you can't support your clientele, and it doesn't mean that you can't make a profit while you're doing it. Any one of you may have 1 or 2 people that are interested in going on a trip like that. But you may not have the expertise or enough people to run it yourself. So send them to me or send them to another company like me. Let them take your client down there and have a fabulous experience, and you share in the revenue from that. For example, I share the revenue. I provide 10% of the net revenue to the people, to the customers, for the customers on the clients that are sent to me. So any one of you that has a dive shop or dive students that wanted to go, you send them to me. I take them to Antarctica. I've got the experience to do that. I've been diving down there since the 1980s. And then you experience, or you are benefited by being able to take 10% of that. And that's a pretty big ticket item. You could stand to make $2,500 on a single client by sending them on a trip like that. Now, it doesn't always have to be on a large scale or a big ticket item. Even locally, you may not have enough people to fill a dive boat, a local dive boat. And so you may decide to share a dive boat with a local dive operation in your area, or maybe from out of the area, so you're not stealing from the same clientele. You may say, I've got a friend that owns a dive shop in Monterey. And the people in Monterey don't often go diving in Southern California where I am, but we have great diving in Catalina. And so you say, well, I can fill half of a boat. But now I'm going to call my friend that owns the dive shop in Monterey and let him fill, or her fill, the other half of the boat. Now both of you benefit because you've got a better charter price, a better profit margin for being able to fill the entire boat. And you filled it with 2 different groups working cooperatively together, so that both of you benefit, as well as your clients benefiting from being able to provide an offering like that. And so the idea is that by sharing these opportunities together, you may not have enough of a clientele to be able to be successful by yourself, but by partnering with other group and working collaboratively, it allows all of you to go out and have a good time, to be able to see places that you wouldn't otherwise be able to see, and to be successful in implementing or starting a dive travel program. Now, it may be that your operation is even smaller than that, and you can't fill half a boat or a quarter of a boat. Well, there's still ways to be able to be successful in that. So, for example, there are groups that amalgamate dive travel. They work with individual dive shops across the country, and each dive shop may only send 1 or 2 of their clients to this particular wholesaler. And that wholesaler takes people from 20 different shops, and now you get to go to really great destinations, the Galapagos, where Catherine is right now, or Africa, where Amos is, or Indonesia, or Australia, Bikini Atoll, any of these locations where you couldn't do it by yourself, but you only need 1 or 2 people. You let these wholesale travel operations provide the experience for them. And again, you share in the revenue with a percent. Now, the more people that you provide, typically the higher your profit sharing is on the people that are going. And so it behooves you to send as many people as you can, but you don't have to start by committing to 10 people on a trip, for example. You can start with just 1 or 2 and grow into it as you become more practiced, and as your clients get to know that you've got offerings that you can provide them that will benefit them and benefit you as a shop. And finally, you may want to partner with people that don't offer dive travel at all. And so, for example, Amos is on an African safari photographing land animals. But there's nothing to stop you while you're in Africa from running a white shark expedition in South Africa, or looking at the sardine run off of Durban, or going cave diving in Kamati Springs with Don Shirley. You can add a specific add-on that involves diving to a non-diving expedition that will help augment the primary trip, which may be non-diving related, but still give people the diving experience that they want to have in addition to being able to see the other type of tour operation that they're looking at. And
That's
so
great.
that's what I'm looking at by collaboration. And the idea is that we all benefit, the clients, the dive travel providers, and the local dive stores by collaborating with each other to make these fantasies a reality.
I love
Win-win-win.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, check it out, page 32, Greg. That's a great article. All right, so who do we got up next?
Well, we got Shelli Hendricks. She's in Arizona, it says here on my cheat sheet. Page 41, 6 reasons for having a mentor.
I love this article.
Right? So what are some of the benefits of having a mentor?
Yeah, well, just echoing what's already been said about relationships and getting to connect with people next week. I'm feeling grateful to have so many of my own mentors on this call today. So I've, again, feeling that gratitude. But as somebody who has personally benefited from mentoring in my own career, I'm passionate about this topic of mentoring as a resource for career and leadership growth throughout the industry. And so the 6 advantages that I wrote about in this article are our mentors have walked the path before us. They've been the route that we are thinking of going or considering going, and we can ask them questions. They can help us to set appropriate goals and maybe help us to adjust or stretch our goals a little bit if we're not challenging ourselves enough. They also have tools when we need to be able to use those tools. They can suggest other resources or other podcasts or other books or other videos and other people, perhaps. They can share with us and make introductions with those key contacts. Just this week, I had the opportunity to have someone I was speaking to make a suggestion. Hey, you need to speak with this person. It'd be really great. You have a lot of synergy and you should have this conversation. So those kinds of conversations are fantastic. The 5th here is about offering feedback. And mentors can give feedback in a way that's sort of an unbiased yet experienced opinion that can help shape our behavior, our perception, how people perceive us, and so forth. And then lastly, mentors can help us to open opportunities, maybe sometimes that we don't even see for ourselves.
That's a great article. And what are you doing at DEMA on Tuesday, November 11th at 3 p.m. in room W300?
Yes, I'm doing all kinds of things at DEMA next week. At 3 o'clock on Tuesday, I'll be speaking about mentoring as a talent strategy for your dive shop. And also, I'm talking about leadership development earlier in the day. So if you're interested in either of those topics for yourself or for your staff, come on over and see me. I'll also be camped out in booth 658, and we are experimenting with a bit of launching our own formal mentoring program at the show this year. So come talk to me. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. And next month, I've already submitted my article on how to find a mentor that's right for you. So thanks.
Great.
Excellent.
So before we move on thank you very much, Shelli. Look for her. There is a guide in our publication on our magazine on page 39 that has all of our speakers that are writers. Then there's seminar schedule at DEMA, so check it out. Before we move on to Jeff not number 2, but there's the second Jeff today. I want to go back to the other Jeff Bozanic, and I forgot to mention that he has literally written the book on rebreathers. So if you have any interest in that market, he's written some great articles for us on how to start a business, start a rebreather side of your business, or get into it, or at least what are some of the pitfalls you look for. But Jeff does have a book out. I'm sure he'll have it available at DEMA, and it's literally the book on rebreathers. He's contributor to the NOAA manuals and everything else out there. So shout out to Jeff on that. So go ahead. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Set commercial there for the other Jeff.
At the DEMA Show.
Right.
All right. So
I have mine right over here.
Yeah. To Jeff number 2, Jeff Cinciripino. Easy for you to say. Right. He's in Connecticut, page 19, tips for the year in inventory, physical inventory. So what do you got for us, Jeff? Give us some tips to make this go a little more smooth.
Yeah, I think if you mention the idea of a physical inventory to store owners, it's probably up there with going to the dentist or getting a root canal.
Right.
It is a challenging event. And part of it is because as a dive shop, we just have a lot of stuff, spare parts, repair kits, all kinds of inventory. And after a full year, who knows where everything is at. It can get moved around, tossed around, given away, lost, whatever. And it's really important that businesses conduct that full physical inventory. And to make it easier, you've got to look at it as an event, not a one-day event or a two-day event where you just go in and count everything. It's really getting ready for it. And planning is important in it. Make sure you've identified the timing that you're going to do that physical inventory and get it on your calendar. Make sure your customers and your staff know that it's going to happen. If you're going to be closing the store for a day or two, make sure everybody knows that and get it planned out. And make sure you also understand how your systems work to do a physical inventory and help you out with that. So take a look at whatever system you're using to track your inventory or point of sale system and brush up on how it actually works for a physical inventory. You might even give your vendor who provides that point of sale solution a heads up that you're going to be conducting that inventory on a specific day, so they're there maybe to help you out should you run into any difficulty. But in addition to the planning, there are some preparation activities that we learned that helped us with it. And one of the things is there's a lot of stuff that you're probably not going to sell between the DEMA show and the year end that you might be able to pre-count. And we would pre-count things over the few weeks before the inventory, mark them in a plastic bag if they were in there, put a note on it, and that makes it go really easy the day of the inventory. If you know how many things are in that bag, you don't have to then spend your time counting them. Additionally, you can organize your equipment. For example, repair parts in the repair shop, we would pull out, get them organized in bins so that the day of the inventory we could go through and just really scan them pretty quickly through that stuff. So you can make it a little bit easier by proper planning and then your preparation and organization. Get all your fins in one place, get all your boots in one place, get everything set up. You have to look at, well, how am I going to do my warehouse side of the business? How am I going to do my retail side of the business? Left to right, front to back, all that kind of stuff. So planning is important because you don't want to get to the day that you're doing the physical inventory and be running around saying, okay, now how am I going to do this? So really important piece because your inventory does affect your bottom line. It affects your profit and loss statement. It does affect your balance sheet. And also it helps you identify what you need to buy and what you need to replace, or more importantly, what you don't need to buy. Too often people are like ordering stuff because they can't find or don't know that they have something or their systems are out of whack. So year-end physical inventory, really important piece of the business. Just like going to the dentist and getting your teeth checked and getting that cavity filled, it's something you really need to do to help your business stay on solid ground.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jeff, I'm relieved because when he said year-end physical, I was like, oh, just sounded like I'm a mess.
Yeah, it's like there's some other inventories that you got to conduct as well. So
thanks for that great article.
Colonoscopies, everyone.
Yes, God help us.
And save your life.
All right, moving on to David and Lily, right? Is that who we got next?
Yes, page 22, and I'm going to do the intro since I gave you the wrong prompt earlier there. Using fam trips to grow dive destinations. And if you're not familiar in the travel world, that's called a familiarization trip. I'm sure Dave and Lily will talk more about it. But specifically, what are the advantages for a dive destination to offer fan trips to trip organizers is the prompt and the question. So David, Lily, turn it over to you, folks.
Okay, as trip organizers ourselves, we're always hesitant to entrust our reputation and our clientele satisfaction on a destination that we haven't visited personally, and are confident that our group will have an exciting and fun time there and remember it fondly. As trip leaders, we also want to know all the ins and outs of how to go through the needed immigration or transportation processes of that destination. For example, what's the immigration forms that we need to be filled out ahead of time online and by when? All this information will help our group later by knowing and keeping them informed.
Dive destinations, whether it's a resort or a liveaboard dive boat, can offer trip organizers a low-cost way of doing it through a FAM or familiarization trip to get all of this experience and in-depth knowledge so that the trip organizers can be confident in organizing and offering this destination to their clients, and more importantly, to ensure that the trip runs smoothly. For example, if a resort is located on a hill or there's a lot of steps involved, and the organizer knows that the group tends to be older or they have physical limitations, they can request rooms that are closer to the dive shop or to the shore. It's an opportunity for the trip organizers to get a feel for the resort and dive boats and to better address their clients' needs and questions.
Yeah, and in addition to the experiences of the actually going to the destination, FAM trips generally offer trip organizers a detailed education program, seminars on how to sell their destination to your clients, and also key points and advantages for their operation so that you can pass that along. But they can also educate you on the local customs, the area attractions, history, geography, and more so that you can be able to answer your clients' questions about the area without having to go look it up, since that of course makes you a destination specialist and inspires confidence in your clients that they know what you're talking about. For example, you may want to add cultural experiences to your trip package or recommend optional land excursions to your clients or whatever that your clients like to have.
So a good FAM trip also allows the trip organizers to personally meet the staff and personnel at the destination and to form relationships that they can later on help to know who to go to negotiate trip details and also to ask questions. It's always good to associate a face with the name, and it's great for when your clients see that when you come that the staff already knows you and they greet you warmly. It's easy for your clients to commit to a dive trip when the leader has been there and done that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's probably
great.
one of the best perks of the industry, wouldn't you say there, Willie?
It is. And people, I think many times a destination, I'm talking about tourist boards and resorts and liveaboards are a little harder for a liveaboard to do FAMs, but really underestimate the value of it. In their article on page 22, they have a quote from Chris Mears of Scandia Divers in the Philippines. It says they have an 80% conversion rate. That means that they bring a group of 10, 8 of those people end up booking groups. And many of them, they say, book between 20 and 30 each time, and they've been back multiple times since that FAM. So the power of FAMs are incredible. We did a program in the late, I believe it was 1990 in the Bahamas. It's a long time ago. And Neil Watson, Stuart Cove, some of the others chartered the DC-3, and they brought 21 dive shop owners to 7 different islands. And they did an itinerary that you just couldn't buy, but it was a chance to show them the country. 30 years later, some of those dive shops are still sending groups.
Absolutely.
I mean, 40 years later, it's amazing what a FAM trip could do. So thank you. Great article, great concept, David and Lily. It's great to have you writing. And we're going to go from Dallas, Texas, because they actually live about 2 miles from where I'm sitting right now, to our good friend Linda down in South Florida. And I'm going to set this up because she called me a while back and she says, I did this program down at Anthony's Key and down in, do you think it might be of interest to the readers? I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, Linda. So well done on the article. And I love the concept. And I'll let you introduce her there, Greg.
Yeah, well, it's Eat, Sleep, Yoga, and Dive. Linda Sue Dingel, page 48. So what does this mean? What are we making money from group fitness kind of programs or what there, Linda?
I think this is a great segue because several of you have already spoken about adding other activities to your dive trips. And so this is an instance where I've been working with Anthony's Key for nearly 20 years, resort in Roatan, Bay Islands. And they said, Linda, we want to do something to attract something besides divers. And so we're going to go after the yoga market, and can you help us with that? And I said, yeah. I said, I do yoga, and my friend in Florida, she's a yoga teacher and she likes to dive. And they said, great, let's put a trip together. So we started marketing this trip earlier on in the year, and there was 20 spaces. It sold out. 18 people came. There was 2 emergencies, so 18 people came, and it was incredibly successful. I mean, the first day that we were there, one participant already came and said, when are you doing this again? When are you doing that? I want to do this again. I want to come again. When are you doing this again? By the end of the week, everybody was just super excited about how the event went. I saw that the resort had benefited by upsells. There was a lot of people that decided they wanted to do 3 dives instead of the 2 dive package that was offered. So they were buying extra dives. They were buying one-on-one classes with instructors. Some people switched from snorkeling to diving. I actually did my first night snorkel. I went from diving to snorkeling. So that was kind of cool. And everybody was just, adding on more. There was a stand-up yoga paddle board class. So if you wanted to, you could do 2 yoga sessions, 2 dives, which was built in the package, or snorkel if you'd signed up for the snorkel package. And then people were adding on after that. So you could do like 3 yoga sessions and up to 3 dives or snorkels for the day if you wanted to pack it up. Sometimes they did.
So you dive, then downward dog, and then dive and eat, and then downward dog kind of thing?
Yeah,
all right.
Pretty much. Yeah.
That sounds pretty good. That'll
We
work.
did some underwater yoga.
Oh, cool.
What I love about this is this is thinking outside the box. And I think there's so many resorts out there that could do this. You've got Pilates, you've got Tai Chi, which seems to be coming back around again. These are this could be work at any place, and it could work on a liveaboard too. Mm-hmm. So Linda, thank you for pioneering this article and really the concept, because I think our industry needs this. There's so many people out there that want to do more than just dive. They do want to dive. That's what they're going there for, but they want to do other things. So thank you for the great article. By the way, Linda's company is located at booth 1252, Dive Marketing Media. Anthony's Key Resort is at 1514. Go by and see them. And you are doing a seminar yourself, right, Linda?
I am just going to be attending your seminar when you have your.
I'm sorry. You quote the Cheryl Patterson one.
Cheryl Patterson is actually doing a seminar.
Right. Yeah, you're
in the adventure market. There was several tour operators that I interviewed that were telling me, like Jenny from Reef and Rainforest and Diane from Quest Dive Adventures, they're all telling me that, they're booking extra adventures for people of all ages, and especially with the aging of the dive industry in general. Sometimes people who've been diving on hardcore dive trips half their life are now asking for adventure trips. And Cheryl from Deep Blue Adventures is actually doing a seminar that's talking about how to capture and monetize on the adventure travel market that is coming up, expecting to bring 1.35 billion by 2030.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing. And then it's so funny because Lily just sent me a note. She's a Tai Chi instructor and has actually taught it on some of the boats that she's been on. So thank you, Linda. I love this idea, and I look forward for more from you. She is going to be one of our speakers at the upcoming Writers Roundtable that we're hosting on at the DEMA Show. So take a look at that. So, Greg?
Yeah.
We go from yoga and Anthony's Key, which, by the way, I've been to that resort, and and the diving is unbelievable. I love it down there. It's fantastic.
Right on.
Great location.
Yeah.
We go from there to back to the West Coast.
Yeah, Gil Zeimer in San Rafael, California. So Howie wrote his first book on page 29, and it just came out. Is that right, Gil, or is it about to?
It's in production right now. It'll be printed by DEMA.
Gotcha. So you actually wrote an article in Scuba Diving Industry Magazine on how you got started on this project, or what?
Correct. Yeah. So the title of the article is From Dive Notes to Bookstores, How I Turned Decades of Scuba Stories into a Book. So you could say there are 2 theories on how I started writing this book. One theory, or one story I tell, is I started writing it 31 years ago when I submitted my first story, and it got published by Scuba Times. And over the years, I wrote dozens and dozens of more articles. I was very lucky to curate relationships with editors like an Alert Diver, California Diving News, etc. So I wrote hundreds of articles over the years. And the other way to tell the story is that about 7-8 months ago, I looked at my body of work and I thought I'd like to collect and compile some of these stories, 60, 65 stories, into a book. So I started pulling them together in February this year, and that's how it all came together. So there were 7 lessons I talked about in this article. And lesson 1 was start with a purpose and a vision. And so with 40 years of diving and all these articles, as I said, I thought it would be interesting. And I talked to Willie one day and I said, what do you think? I want to write a book. And he said, that's a great idea. And he said, and I knew, I said, you can find a publisher or you could publish it yourself. And he turned me on to Best Publishing that Jeff Bozanic and Alex Brylske and Dan Orr and Eric Douglas already worked with, and it was a good fit. So I started working with them. And I also had a strong idea about the cover. Can you see this?
Yeah,
Yes.
we see it.
Okay,
Yeah, we
so
got
I
it,
had a
yeah.
strong idea of what I wanted the cover to look like for Scuba Storyteller, Mostly Humorous Diving Tales by an Addicted Aquanaut. And down here it says Forward by William Cline. So, if you have strong ideas about the visual, about the content, talk to your publisher about it. It doesn't hurt. So that was lesson number 1. Lesson number 2 was don't make the forward an afterthought. For my forward, I wanted to get someone who was an industry legend, and luckily Willie.
I was the last on the list, Greg. Sorry, you weren't available, so.
Right, but I'm flattered by what he had to say about it. And in the forward, he said, Gil's stories are like little underwater adventures disguised as escapes. And if you're a dive retailer, a liveaboard operator, an instructor, or just passionate diver looking for something more entertaining than another fish guide, this is the book for you. And so he set the tone in the forward. And as I said, I'm flattered that he wrote it, and it meant a lot to me. So get someone who has some industry clout to write your forward to give your book instant credibility, because that'll be on my best publishing page. It's on my current scubastoryteller.com page. It's going to be on Amazon. Lesson number 3 is set deadlines and meet or exceed them. You all know that many people take years to write a book or decades. This came together in months because I'd already written the majority of these stories, but when I started shaping them into chapters like liveaboards and this and that, I realized I hadn't written about 2 liveaboards I took in my early years in the 80s, one to the Channel Islands and one to Belize. So I had to write those stories this year, and I wrote many stories for this magazine monthly. So I wrote 8 or 10 new stories just this year to fit into the book, and I'm still pushing them. And luckily, we're just making the deadline for DEMA. It was a tight deadline. The 4th lesson is write, and I learned this from decades of advertising writing, write strong headlines that draw people into your stories. Some of my favorite headlines are things that were very personal with me. Waterlogged proposals was a story about how I tried to propose to my wife underwater and she almost drowned. Warm memories of hypothermia was my one and only cold water dive in Monterey, California. My Dive Buddy Wears Diapers was about my daughter and sitting by the bathtub every night, giving her a bath and getting wet as we splashed around. And it was just a great headline. My first time was a story for Scuba Diving Industry Magazine about the first time I went diving. And a couple more from this magazine is Let's All Jump on the Blue Friday bandwagon. And Deborah, as I said earlier, is now part of Blue Friday. So thank you for that. A couple of more headlines were Harnessing the Gray Tsunami for Your Dive Operation, which was my first story for Willie that he said got more clicks than anyone else that month. So I thought I was onto something. And the last story in the book is one where Amos Nachoum provided some great white shark images, and it was an interview with Wendy Benchley called Jaws at 50, The Shark Still Has Legs, and it was published in X-Ray Magazine by Peter. So I'm very proud of do I have crafted the headlines to draw readers in? That was 4 lessons. A couple more were lesson number 5 is build credibility with peer reviews. Now, Jeff Bozanic, Jeff Cinciripino, Alex Brylske, Dan Orr, Eric Douglas. I've got over 30 reviews right now on my website, and the book hasn't even been printed yet. But these are reviews I got by sending my manuscript to people I know, people I trust, and people I hope would write something good. And Jeff, what did you say? You wrote, "I laughed so hard I almost peed in my dry suit," right?
Okay.
That's great.
Okay. Lesson number 6 is promote as you write. So I've been promoting, especially my Scuba Diving Industry Magazine stories ever since I started writing for you guys a year and a half ago. But especially in the last month, I've been promoting the book on social media. I've been promoting certain stories. I'll give some free samples on social media to entice people more. And lesson 7 is keep sharing the story. So publishing isn't the finish line, it's just the start. I'm going to have a marketing minute soon with Britain and Willie. I'd like to get a scuba radio interview after DEMA, after Jeff comes up for air again. And I'm constantly looking at ways to promote myself, promote the book readings, book signings, etc. So it's all part of a bigger picture of all these lessons you learn when you write a book.
So, Greg, when Gil reached out to me about this idea for the article, I started thinking about, there's a lot of other people out there that think I should write a book, but they don't know how to get started. And that was the idea behind it. And it really was to be a guide to help people. I mean, Linda, you've been in this industry like I have for decades and decades in tech, and you have incredible experience, incredible background, incredible adventures you've had, but also insights. I think that there's a lot more of us that could get into the writing business, and I hope Gil's article will inspire others to pick up a pen or start typing on your computer, because the industry needs more books. We need more insights about what we are, who we are, and it used to be that I don't know if you remember the old days of Undercurrent back in the 90s and mid 90s, I think it was. They carried, excuse me, 3 to 4 pages of divers books that you could buy. That doesn't exist anymore. You can't find them. They just, only places like Best, they picked up some of them, which is wonderful. And the reef guides, of course, people at Smart Reef Guides have some, but it's hard to find books. So thank you, Gil, for submitting that article.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's good stuff. I'll tell you, Willie, I mean, I've been asked to write a book before, but see, I'm concerned because when I hear him mention, a chapter like my dive buddy wears a diaper, but it was his daughter or whatever, in my case, it'd probably get me arrested because it'd be a middle-aged man and, that kind of thing.
You would have some good adventures, wouldn't you, Greg?
Better left unsaid kind of thing is what I'm saying.
That depends, Greg. That depends.
And I will do a shout out to Best Publishing. If you are interested in writing, reach out to the nice folks over there. They'll walk you through the process. So
there you go.
That's going to probably do it pretty close to our show here today. Greg, I do want to do one last commercial. Wednesday, November 12th. That's next week at the DEMA Show at 5 p.m. It's our first Writers Roundtable. It's a 45-minute format where we've got about 10 writers that are going to be talking. They'll introduce themselves, and it's basically an open mic kind of situation. And last year, we had standing room only, and we only did one. This year, we're doing 2. The second one is Thursday at 12 noon. So Wednesday at 5. The show doesn't close till 6, so you got nothing else to do for that last hour. Pop over and see us. It's not in a room. It's actually on the show floor. It's a booth 965. It's called the Resource Center, and I love doing these because it doesn't take anybody off the show floor.
Excellent. Well, that's good stuff. It's a big event. It's where everybody in the industry from around the world is going to be hanging right here in my backyard or Orlando, Florida. So I look forward to bringing everybody to town and tearing it up next week. And we'll share a few stories that we can on next week's or next month's episode of Level Up. At least the ones that'll keep us out of jail.
Exactly.
Right?
We're going to have some great stories. We are going to be doing some broadcasting live every day. Just we're going to try to pick up some of your stuff, Greg, in the mornings and shoot it out in the afternoons. We've got a whole production thing set up for our booth. So
there you go.
We hopefully be doing some on-the-ground reporting every day.
Well, check that out. And, of course, you can tune in to Scuba Radio every Saturday, 3 to 5. We're going to be doing our broadcast from the event next week as well. That'll air on the 15th of November. All right, well, that'll do it for this month's edition of Scuba Diving Industry Magazine's Level Up podcast. Till next time, remember, it's always better where, Willie, come on.
It's down where it's wetter.
That's it.
This has been Level Up, the podcast of Scuba Diving Industry Magazine. Produced by Scuba Radio and the Cline Group. For more info, go to scubadivingindustry.com.